Alright, this is John Cola with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, it's another whiteboard episode. I'll post links down below to some of the whiteboards I have done in the past, including my latest one about resistant starch and the raw vegan diet. This episode is about toxins in cooked foods, and as somebody that started eating a raw food diet in 1995, and I lived that way for like 25 years, 99% raw. I didn't knowingly eat anything heat processed. You know, I knew that there were toxins in cooked foods, and I was glad to not eat any of them as somebody who ate raw foods, because, you know, a lot of raw food dogma out there, in my personal opinion, is that all cooked food is poison. It is all bad. Anything that's cooked is bad instantly. It just instantly disqualifies the food from being a healthy food, and then you shouldn't eat it if you want to believe some of the raw food dogma out there, right? And if you, however you guys want to live your life, that's fine. That's up to you. And I did live this way for many years, and, you know, now living this way since 1995. This is starting my 28th year being raw vegan, and I still classify myself as a raw vegan because 75% or more of my food is consumed in its raw natural state, where I'm not ingesting cooked toxins. So here's the thing, guys. This is what I've learned recently and looked into some of the science more deeply. And, you know, in life, there are always good and bad, pros and cons, and it's a balancing scale. There's never always all right or all wrong. I'm sure there's things about your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife that you love a lot, but there's a few things that just kind of frankly gets on your nerves. So nobody's 100% perfect and will do everything exactly right. Like, raw foods are not entirely perfect. So what I will say is that I believe that, you know, eating mostly raw is great because, you know, once again, besides toxins in heat processed foods, you know, some nutrients are lowered in heat processed foods, but, you know, this video is not going to cover the lowering of certain nutrients, but also we must remember that in certain nutrients in heat processed foods, nutrients can increase, making them more bioavailable. Some of you guys still may think this is hogwash, but, you know, I've looked at the science, and this is not true in every case, but in some cases it is. Another thing I will say is that I believe that it's more important to be inclusive in your diet and include more varieties of foods that especially contain different kinds of phytonutrients, vitamins and minerals and micronutrients, as well as essential fiber for our gut bacteria. And if you eat only raw foods, you're excluding whole food categories. For the most part, you're not eating many beans or grains, right? You're not eating a lot of starchy vegetables that may have resistant starch in them that can feed your gut microbiome. So your gut microbiome may be lacking. Link down below to my microbiome video. So, you know, I'm all for eating a great diversity, but more importantly, as somebody who has been avoiding cooked food toxins for many years, I don't want to just start eating cooked food and then get these toxins, right? Not all cooked foods are created equal, which most raw fooders try to put cooked foods in a box. All cooked food is bad. And I'm going to say this as somebody who's been eating raw vegan diet and not heat processing my food. I'm going to say most cooked foods are bad and you still shouldn't eat them, but there are some few exceptions that I want to show you guys, and some ways you could actually avoid some of the cooked food toxins if you guys want to do that. So, you know, if you still eat heat processed foods or cooked foods, you want to heat process your foods in certain ways and select certain foods to eat to minimize your toxic risk. So anyways, with that, let's get into this video. There's 4 main types of cooked food toxins that I identified and that have been identified by especially big health organizations. First one is Polycyclic Aromatic Hydrocarbons, or PAHs. They're associated with cancers and DNA damage, and actually they're associated with eating or cooking meats, actually. Next is Heterocyclic Amines, or HCAs, probable carcinogen, cancer, tumors. Once again, these are also in meat. So literally you can avoid the first 2 kinds of heat processed cooked food toxins by eating entirely plant-based or vegan, if you want to call it that. So I said avoid by not cooking meat above 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you know, pretty much by default, I'm not including those toxins in my life because I don't eat or cook any meat myself. Down to the next two, these two toxins can affect people on a plant-based diet or vegan diet, and these are the ones I am more concerned about. Advanced Glycation End Products, or AGEs. It is said that AGEs will age you faster, and I believe that. So when you eat AGEs, it can increase various diseases, cause cross-linking or wrinkles in your skin, impair your immune function, and screw up your metabolism based on some of the studies. And basically this occurs when you have sugar and fats and they are cooked at high temperatures. So to avoid, you don't want to brown your food, right? You don't want to grill food. You don't want to like brown it, put it on a skillet and then make it all brown. You know, that's the stuff that used to taste good, right? These are the AGEs that you guys are eating. So, you know, you want to use the lowest heat possible. Also, I do recommend, you know, not doing any dry heating. Dry heating is when you're not cooking with water. That's when more toxins can also be created as well. So the worst kinds of cooking, and we're going to throw some pictures up on the screen right now to show you guys the worst kind of cooking that I do not recommend you guys do. Grilling on the grill, frying, broiling, baking, air frying. I know a lot of the vegans out there love their air fryers, right? That is heating things too hot, creating the AGEs, or even roasting, like as in if you're buying roasted nut butters, you know, or peanut butter, lots of AGEs. I'll throw up a chart also right now on the screen so you guys can see the AGE chart, so you can see the amount of AGEs. And of course, lowest on the AGE scale are things like fruits and vegetables, you know, and gently heated, you know, other plant foods. Of course, as foods are more processed, as there's more, you know, animal products in there, you guys can see they're near the top of the list. So I want you guys to avoid those foods as well. But, you know, please be aware that, you know, once again, eat things raw, or if you minimally heat them, you know, you're not going to create the AGEs like you would otherwise. So the next cooked food toxin out there is acrylamide, and that's basically a group 2A carcinogen identified, so that can cause cancer and increase other diseases. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why raw food works, because it basically almost entirely eliminates the AGEs and acrylamide. There could still be some, you know, in the food just as it comes to you in its raw state. In addition, I didn't mention that some of these first two, especially the PAHs, can be basically land on your food, and then you can ingest them because, you know, say you buy stuff from an organic farm right next to the freeway, right? Exhaust gases from cars and whatnot could put out some of these PAHs. So, you know, you might want to wash your food sometimes. All right, so anyways, back to the acrylamide. That's when you, that's in starchy food. So if you're cooking potatoes or frying potatoes, you know, that's like classic acrylamide producers, or even things like breads. So to avoid acrylamide, you're gonna not cook starch over 248 degrees. You're gonna not cook them dry. You're gonna use the shortest cooking time possible. And more importantly, you wanna cook in water. This will basically eliminate, you know, the acrylamide generation. Of course, once again, we're going to throw pictures up on here to re-emphasize the worst ways of cooking your food. Grilling, frying, broiling, baking, air frying, roasting. These methods will create the acrylamides, which will, you know, be a carcinogen and increase other disease risks for you guys. So, you know, I'm glad I've been able to minimize these. And once again, there's a lot of reasons why raw foods work. And one reason is because it basically, for the most part, eliminates the toxins because you are not cooking your food. Other thing about acrylamide, if you guys drink coffee every day, right? All coffee for the most part is roasted. They roast the coffee. That's how the flavor aroma comes out. Even if you're having the chicory, roasted chicory coffee substitute, right? It's roasted. And that's going to be a good percentage of your acrylamide consumption as well. So for that reason, I encourage you guys to enjoy fresh vegetable juices in the morning instead of your coffee. Even a fruit juice, a fresh made fruit juice, going to have way less acrylamide than your roasted coffee. Let's go ahead and throw up a chart on the screen right now of the acrylamide listed in foods and their amounts. And as you guys can see once again on this chart, fruits and vegetables contain the lowest amount of acrylamide. So one of the things that concerned me a little bit when I started to consume some heat processed foods are, hey man, I've been avoiding these toxins in foods all these years, being somebody who eats raw food diet. I want to continue to avoid these toxins. How can I do that? But yet I want to be more inclusive and include some heat processed foods, right? Some foods literally cannot be eaten raw, so you're basically not going to be able to eat them because they may contain naturally occurring plant toxins that need to be broken down through heating, or maybe the starch needs to be converted, you know, through a heating process. So what are the best ways of heating and cooking your food? Well, now that's what I'm going to show you guys right now. So the best ways to cook your food or heat your food up, we'll throw some pictures up on the screen of boiling your food. I'm not a big fan of boiling myself, but that's going to keep the food temperature under 112 degrees. Steaming your food, that's definitely better in my opinion than boiling. Boiling, it can leach out nutrients, so if you are boiling your food, make sure you drink the water that you're boiling in to get those nutrients that are leached out. I prefer the method of pressure cooking, and so when I pressure cook, it's like I'm doing the steaming, but it's steaming on steroids literally, so it's done at even quicker time, so there's less time at a little bit higher temperature, but still maintaining under 248 degrees. Pressure cooking, I use an Instant Pot. Of course, you could also do things like stewing your food and crock pot your food in water, or even sous vide your food, which are low temperature methods, and you're going to keep your food temperatures low. So the main thing to remember is you want to water cook your food, however you guys do it, and keep the temperatures low and cook for the shortest amount of time as possible. In this way, you will minimize your cooked food toxins, and of course, guys, stay away from all that processed food, junk food. Potato chips are some of the worst offenders for some of these toxins in there. Of course, I recommend you guys eat more plants and avoid the meat products as much as you can, or even eliminate them if you are able, to avoid all the PAHs as well as the HCAs that are existing in basically most cooked meats when you guys get them. So hopefully after watching this episode, you guys are going to learn how I'm minimizing my toxins in cooked food by basically using an Instant Pot, but I'm also able to, you know, increase the diversity of foods, phytonutrients, fibers that I'm getting to feed my microbiome and myself. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you guys did enjoy this episode, hey, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and more importantly, share this with other people that are on a raw food diet, or even that eat cooked foods, how they could minimize the toxins in their foods. You know, my goal for my channel is to just get you guys to eat more plant foods and process them in the best ways possible to preserve the most nutrients. And I know some of you guys are going to ask about dehydration. And dehydration, these days I'm not a big fan of dehydration, because when you're dehydrating, you may not be creating any of these toxins because you're doing it at a low temperature, but basically you're oxidizing the food, you know, much more rapidly than is necessary, in my opinion, than if you did it at a little bit higher temperature to lose some of the enzymes, but then you're going to gain some of those phytonutrients. And in this day and age, at this point in my life, phytonutrients take a little bit more precedence over the enzymes in the food. Of course, I do eat plenty of foods that contain lots of enzymes, including some of my fresh picked greens, and if you want enzymes, eat some probiotic foods like fermented foods, or grow some sprouts and microgreens, which are teeming with enzymes. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes. I'm coming out about every 5 to 7 days. You don't know where to show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel, what new knowledge bombs I'll be dropping on you, and make sure you click the little bell to get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to share our past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 600 episodes at this time on this channel, dedicated to teach you guys all about eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, because they're some of the healthiest foods on the planet. Links down below, also in the description, some of my whiteboards I've made in the past, as well as some of the other videos on why I started including some heat processed foods in my diet to expand the diversity and nutrition that I'm getting on my plant-based, raw-based diet. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.